Okay. All right, I'm going to call our meeting to order and ask everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have several meeting documents in the binders on the end here that are available if anybody would like to review them. I'm going to remind everyone to silence your cell phones and avoid embarrassment. And if you need a listening device, Craig Dewey, Carol Muller, any one of the commission staff can help you with that. Before we go into routine business, I'm going to ask Senator Jack Kolbeck to come up and give us an update on the legislative session. Good morning, Senator.
Okay.
Morning, Commissioners, and I appreciate you giving me the time, and I appreciate the invitation from Commissioner Barth to come and just talk a little bit about the appropriations that have come down, you know, not only from the federal government, but from the state. I am on the appropriation. I'm Jack Kolbeck, by the way, from District 13 here in Sioux Falls. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what the appropriations that came down that would benefit the local area, Minnehaha County, and the city of Sioux Falls and the surrounding areas. We had roughly about $380-some million of one-time spending that not only came about because of the fact that we had kept our state open, our sales tax revenues were really good, so we were able to have some money there. We had some reversions back from some departments within the state that were able to save some money because of the pandemic, didn't travel, et cetera. So we had quite a bunch of money to work through. I'm just going to highlight on a couple of things today real quick, just to let you know that some of the bigger things that happened within the state was what we were able to put another $75 million into our unemployment benefit plan, our reemployment, as we call it, insurance fund, so that people that are unemployed because of the pandemic were able to apply for and get the money that they needed. That was we did that just recently. Highway Patrol and motor carriers, we put another $8.6 million into that fund here just recently. Department of Corrections, we put $21 million into the Department of Corrections. And parole officers, January through June of 2021, that money will be coming through. Department of Human Services, we were able to put in $12.2 million into the Department of Social Services, the United States, or the court services, justice services in the county and the state. We were able to put in $5.3 million to help them out. Department of Corrections, healthcare, we were able to put $5 million into that plan. Broadband, as you all well know, we put $25 million of COVID relief funds into that, and then in our appropriations and through our legislature, we're able to fund another $75 million of one-time money that will help people within the county, and especially Lincoln County and surrounding areas, get broadband, which will help with our educational system, and also the access to the internet. One other thing we did was in the meat processing grants for small meat packers. As you guys well know, the pandemic created an issue with them being able to produce meat for the people in our county and the state of South Dakota. So there's a grant program out there now through the COVID relief money of $5 million for them to apply for grants, and hopefully that will help out. Some things that just help in real short here that helped within the area. One of the things was the big things. We put $50 million into what we call the Freedom Scholarship Program, which will help Augustana and USF, USD, SDSU, the 6 major colleges plus them. We had a donor, the Premier Bank donated $100 million. The state put in $50 million, and as of last week, with private donations and other funds coming into that, we have over $175 million in that endowment. Our goal is to raise, get it to $200 million, and with that endowment, Pell-eligible students that are struggling to get financing to go to our state universities and our 2 private universities here in Sioux Falls, we'll be able to apply for that. And just to give you an idea of what number that may be, just at South Dakota State University, President Dunn told me that last year he would have had approximately 1,200 more students at South Dakota State University if they had been able to obtain some sort of scholarship, and these scholarships will help all of those universities and that was a big thing. We worked on that for the last 3 years. Finally, we got that thing going. Here at the Technical College at Southeast Tech and the rest of the technical colleges, we paid off a $21 million bond that was purchased in 2010 to help the technical colleges expand. The reason for paying that one off, it was just a bad bond. I mean, what I say by a bad bond, it was an interest-only bond. We weren't making a lot of payments on the principal on that bond, and so we paid that one off. And that'll save the technical colleges about $1.7 million in interest a year, and the state about $1.2 million a year. And that money will go back into the technical colleges for whatever needs they may be, and hopefully that'll go towards increasing the enrollment, et cetera, on those particular campuses. Rural access infrastructure, we gave $6 million, and that is going to counties and townships. What we're doing there is on bridges and culverts that are bad on the township county roads. They're being assessed as to which ones can be replaced. There is a limit on the size of the bridges and the size of the culverts. They're smaller projects that will hopefully help benefit the counties and access to our roads. So that'll be a good thing. The other one was airport route restoration and air service marketing. We were able to get the city airport here in Sioux Falls $1.9 million, along with Rapid City, $1.9 million to help market their airports. Rapid City and Sioux Falls are regional airports, which are controlled by the federal government as far as regional. Therefore, they cannot use any COVID relief money at all to help market their airports to get the service and the quality back to what our people here need. So hopefully with this money we'll be able to encourage airlines to come in and do some extra nonstop flights out of Sioux Falls because of what we lost during the pandemic. And that was a good thing. That was a well thought after plan by not only our CEO of our airport here, but also the one in Rapid City. We put that together, and that'll work out good. We're great. The other $600 million goes to $1,000 goes to the different smaller regional airports such as Aberdeen, Winter, and Pierre, South Dakota. We also gave $3 million to the Big Sioux River cleanup, and as you all know, the Big Sioux River is a huge attraction for our city and our county, and we gave the people that run that program $3 million, and we are, as appropriators, going to tour some of the up north, some of the things that they're doing or going to do with that money to help the water quality on the Big Sioux River. So hopefully someday we all can go swimming in that river again. And we started that project with $3 million. We also gave the link here in Sioux Falls, which you guys know, mental health and a treatment center for people that can walk in and if they need some help, they can get it immediately. We gave $3 million to the link, which they're going to restore the second floor of that building. That'll help out quite a bit. Talking to the Viera and Sanford people who are partners, Lincoln County, Minnehaha County, the city of Sioux Falls are all partners in that just that link alone would probably save emergency room visits by these people that need this kind of service. Would approximately 5,000 emergency room visits in a year. And if you know what an emergency room visit costs, and a lot of times it comes down to the counties or the city paying for some of those, or the general public. However, that's quite a savings. So we're looking really excited about that. Something that everybody's talked about is the Veterans Cemetery, which was the city and the county have been involved with. We budgeted $1.5 million to get the road fixed the way we want it to be up to the gate of the cemetery, which opens on Memorial Day of this year. And I encourage the county maybe to work with the city as well, and maybe we can get the rest of the road finished up towards the Renner area someday in the near future. That would help out as well, and I think for economic development in that area would be great. the Readiness Center here in Sioux Falls, which was the Air National Guard. Two things we did for the Air National Guard here in Sioux Falls and the Army National Guard. The federal government's given us $15 million for a new Readiness Center to train people, and our commitment from the state is $5 million. It's a 25% match from the state, and 3/4, 75% from the federal government. That should bring in between 50 and 100 more National Guards people into the state of South Dakota, and also it'll help with training, and it could be training from any entity within the state. It could be law enforcement, EMTs, et cetera. That's going to be really great. The federal government moved that project up 2 years. That's why we had to do something this year, because it was initially going to be on the 24, but we moved it to 2022. So that project will be also beneficial for our area. Another project was the cold storage. We're one of 2 National Guard units that are going to have a new type of, and I'm not a rocket guy, but a new type of a rocket launcher, and they need to be kept in cold storage. They cannot be kept outside warm or in real extreme cold. It needs to be in a climatized building, and so we're going to have a new cold storage building built in Sioux Falls, and we budgeted $396 for that, and that was going to be another asset to our community. It'll bring in some more National Guards people that will need to take care of that one there. And the one that always comes dear to everybody's heart, if you walk down Sioux Falls, which is beautiful, you see all the statues of the art down there. And we were able to give our Arts Council in South Dakota $250,000 to help with their training or their arts people because they lost a lot of that over the pandemic. So what I'm talking about here, just to clarify everything, is one-time money. In other words, this is not ongoing funding. This is one-time money that we had, as I mentioned earlier, out of the 380-some million we had. We were able to get the sprinkler system also into the cemetery, so we have green grass out there at the Veterans Cemetery when you go. Another thing that is kind of a project, and we hope this project works, and we think it will. The Department of Social Services came to us, and they want to build what we call immediate care facilities. As we all know, Redfield is located in Redfield, South Dakota. That's where our most severe mentally health people are. And we struggle all the time with help, trying to get the right kind of people to work with these individuals. And at Redfield, a lot of those people, right now today, there's 83 people in the Redfield facility. At one time, we had 1,100. But because of what we have done, or you guys have done, we've been able to keep those people closer to home. So one of the things that we're going to do is, and there's going to be a bidding process out for the care facilities, but one in Rapid City, one in Sioux Falls, and we budgeted $8.3 million from the state out of our one-time funding, and 11.6 is coming from the federal government to set up 2 crisis centers, or we call them intermediate care facilities, one in Rapid, one in Sioux Falls. And what this will do is that we're going to bring in anywhere from 8 to 16 patients of our most critically ill and bring them closer to home. And we're going to experiment with, I shouldn't say the word experiment, but because they do have a plan for it, but it's going to be something to see if this works. And if this would happen to work and we can get it funded correctly and we can help these people and get them closer to their home, that's what we're trying to do here. So there'll be the one in the Rapid City area and the one in Sioux Falls too. And those RFPs, as we call them, have gone out to the different care providers, which could be Lifescape, for example, or Volunteers of America, or other care providers that would like to bid a project like that. And it could be they've got existing facilities that they can remodel to fit what the needs we need, or they could buy a building, if there's one available, that they could fit the needs of these people, or they may build a new one. But we'll just, that's all kind of in the works, but this was a plan that was put together, and hopefully that this will benefit a lot of people within our city as well as in our state and within our county. Just one other real quick thing. I'm going to talk about our group care people, our in-home service people, our nursing home people, our community behavioral health people, psychiatric residential treatments, care people. We were able to this year finally, and when I say finally get them to a pay level that will hopefully curtail the problem that we've had with employment in those places, such as Lifescape, for example. The turnover rate between 0 and 3 years of employment was like 70% at these caregivers, as we call them CSPs in our short-term words. We get a lot of those up at the appropriations. But anyway, we were able to this year not only give them the 2.4% income raise, we were also able to do other things. We got them to 100% methodology, which is a term most people won't understand. It's hard to understand that word, but we got them to 100% methodology. So therefore, we were able to get some of the care provider groups up to 16% raise this year, or funding towards their organizations, 12.3% in some groups, 14.8% in other groups. So hopefully what we're going to do, and we put together a letter of intent, which means a letter of intent is that we're going to give them the direction. Now that we've got the funding, we're going to give them the direction as to how we want that money spent down. And we're going to have that money hopefully directed down to the salaries of the people that work at those organizations. When you looked at those organizations, you know, from $10.50 an hour, $12.14 an hour, I can understand why some people didn't hang around long, because that's really good critical care work that takes real good care of some people that still work within our community, but still need that type of treatment and care. As you all know, that we have another stimulus package that's been signed, and that's what we're going to go out to peer and work on in our appropriations. We're probably in the state of South Dakota going to see at least a minimum of another $1.2 billion before that the stimulus package is all completed. We haven't got all of the criteria yet as to how it's going to be spent. But the Department of Ed, I'll just tell you this, Department of Ed has already received a large chunk of money a week ago last Friday from the feds. And again, there's going to be criteria coming down as to how they spend that out. So our school systems and our higher ed, our technical colleges and stuff like that should be in pretty good shape if everything works out as far as the pandemic. And I just so thankful for the people in the state of South Dakota for doing what they did over the last 13, 14 months. I get goosebumps talking about the people in the state, and I can't thank the commissioners up here, and I can't thank our city council and our mayor as well as for what has been done within our own community right here to keep us open, keep us safe, and keeping us going to church and keeping us going to school and keeping us at our jobs to be able to work. And with that, I'll take any questions from the commissioners if they have any. Thank you.
Senator, thank you very much for your time and presentation this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, we have one more guest I'm going to bring up for an introduction. Shelley Unruh with the City of Sioux Falls Housing Manager. Shelley, would you like to introduce someone to us?
Yes, thank you, Commissioners, for the opportunity to come and meet with you briefly this morning. I'm the housing manager with the City of Sioux Falls, and a few months ago, the last time I came to a commission meeting, we established the Joint Accessible Housing Advisory Board, and with that came an FTE, which is our housing clinic coordinator. So today I just wanted to introduce Amos Abu. He is the housing clinic coordinator for the City of Sioux Falls, established by that commission, and just wanted him to introduce himself and tell you a little bit about himself and the work that he's been doing.
Welcome, Amos.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here this morning. My name is Amos Abu. I was privileged to be selected for this role after 3 different interviews that I had. And I feel like every day that I come to the job, I'm still being interviewed, but I love it. I got this role, I came from Southeastern Behavioral Health when I moved to Sioux Falls in 2014. Before then, I was in New York. I had just moved from London, where I worked for 6 years implementing a USAID project with subrecipient grants. I worked with Southeastern Behavioral Health for 4 years, and that gave me a sense of the challenges that our vulnerable community face when it comes to housing, access to affordable housing, or at least stable housing. So essentially my role as a housing clinic coordinator at the Sioux, working with partners in Sioux Falls, partnering of course with the county, and then a range of stakeholders and partners to come together to streamline our housing navigation system to be able to expand opportunities and leverage opportunities within our community to provide easy access to housing for everyone, but essentially particularly for our vulnerable population in Sioux Falls. So I just came here briefly to introduce myself, and then I'll be happy to take some questions if there's any.
I'm sure we'll be seeing you around. Welcome, and thank you. Quite the background. Appreciate it. And I know your job in today's market is not an easy one.
Right.
So,
I'm the commissioner who's the liaison to this group, and the Shelley and Amos have done great work already. I'm really excited to see where this goes. So thank you very much for coming this morning.
Thank you.
thank you. All righty. We're going to move on to our routine business. I'm going to look for a motion to amend our agenda.
I'd make a motion to amend the agenda to remove item 15, which was a motion to declare various detox items as surplus.
And we're basically, we have a motion. Looking for
Second.
So a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Now I need a motion to approve our amended agenda.
So move. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'm looking for a motion to approve our minutes from our March 23rd, 2021 commission meeting.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then a motion and a second for our Minnehaha County and Sioux Falls City joint meeting on the same date, March 23rd.
Motion. Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. Bills to be paid in the amount of $1,094,564.51.
Pay the bills.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have reports available. The Minnehaha County Coroner Report for February, the auditor's account with the county treasurer for January 2021 are available. Moving on to personnel actions. I'd look for a motion to approve routine personnel actions.
Approve routine action.
Motion, looking for a second.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Speaking of carries, Carrie Deaver.
Good morning, Carrie Deaver from Human Resources. I have several items for you, and the first is my pleasure to ask for your recognition of the following significant employee anniversaries for April. We have Justin Duchesne in the Sheriff's Office celebrating 5 years of service, Danny Koska at JDC celebrating 20, Mason Braun celebrating 20, and Kim Caldwell with the State's Attorney's Office celebrating 20. So it's a short list, but 3 of them have 20 years of experience. And I think we have at least one individual with us today. Kim is here.
Morning, Kim. Want to comment?
I just wanted to thank you all very much for working with our office, and it's truly been a pleasure to serve the citizens of Minnehaha County, and I just thank you guys.
And I think your peers would like to congratulate you, so congratulations. Thank you for your 20 years. Anybody else? Okay. All right. So those are our anniversaries, and now record volunteers for county departments for March 2021.
we actually have almost a two-parter in this area. The first is to record the volunteers, as you mentioned. For March, we had 138 volunteers serving over 8 areas of the county, and as you know, we can't do it without them. And you might also know that it's Volunteer Week coming up in April for our volunteers, and I have 2 department heads who'd like to speak about the proclamation that we do annually, too.
Okay. Sounds good.
Do you need a motion to record the volunteers? Am I rushing us along?
I'll make that motion. Second.
Okay, motion and a second to record our volunteers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. We have to do a roll call on that? Okay. Call the roll.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
And so Bill Hoskins, I believe, is here, and if you're open to that, he is willing to read the proclamation. And then Jason Gearman is also here, who would like to talk a little bit about what his volunteers mean to the county.
All righty.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill Hoskins, Director of the Siouxland Heritage Museums. A proclamation, Minnehaha County Volunteer Week, April 18th through the 24th, 2021. Whereas National Volunteer Week is April 18th through the 24th of 2021, and whereas National Volunteer Week is about inspiring, recognizing, and encouraging people to seek out imaginative ways to engage in their communities, and whereas volunteers make a significant contribution to Minnehaha County. In 2020, each month, an average of approximately 238 volunteers contributed to several areas throughout the county, giving thousands of hours of service, enriching the lives of those who they have helped, and saving the taxpayers of Minnehaha County tens of thousands of dollars. And whereas Minnehaha County wishes to thank all of the individuals who have given their time to support county government and make our community a better place to live. Now, therefore, the Minnehaha County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim April 18th to the 24th, 2021 as Minnehaha County Volunteer Week.
Great job on the resolution, Bill. Thank you.
For my part, we had 82 volunteers last year who contributed thousands of hours. They are a tremendous help to our operation, and they're really priceless individuals that we get an opportunity to share.
Jason, did you also have comments?
I'll be Jason Gearman, Minnehaha County Emergency Management. Most of my staff are volunteers. I just wanted to give you some quick numbers. The police reserves put in over 3,000 hours this year. Now, we could have probably doubled that if it wasn't for all the events that were canceled, the ride-alongs. Rescue squad, who gets called out all hours of the night and during the day, about 2,500 hours. And the dive team put in about 500 hours. And that office wouldn't run without their dedication and the ability to have them there. And, you know, it's funded through the county, and so it's appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys, and definitely thanks to all the volunteers. Just so many things that wouldn't happen without them, so deep appreciation. So I'm going to look for a motion and a second to issue this proclamation declaring Minnehaha County Volunteer Week.
Make a motion to declare April 18th to 24th Volunteer Week.
So move. Second.
Second, call the roll.
I messed up, so, Benega,
Aye.
Barb,
Aye.
Thunder. Aye. Karski.
Aye. Motion carries.
Well, it was only your second roll call.
And there's 3 Bs, so you can't mess it up too bad, so don't worry about it. Alphabetically. All righty, special personnel action to approve a new classification of security administrator and IT at a pay grade 21.
I have a few for you today. For the IT position, you probably recall from past budget discussions that we've talked about adding a security administrator position, like a full-time person focusing on those responsibilities. Monty provided our office with some position information. We've reviewed it for classification. We're recommending a pay grade 21. You might remember that he has a vacant position this year that is not funded. He's proposing to use that vacant position, so there would be a cost impact, but he's recommending that that would be an internal promotion and he wouldn't backfill the vacancy. So while there's a cost, the cost is limited just to the promotional amount, and we're anticipating that for about the 8 months remaining in the year, we're talking about less than $8,000. Monty is here if you have any questions about the position or would like additional information.
Comments, Monty? Questions?
Good morning, Commissioners. Monty Wadenbach, Minnehaha County IT Director. So as time moves on, there's just a growing need to defend our network, and I've kind of prepared you in the past in presentations. I've discussed the growing need for this, and it's kind of always been out there in the future. And I just feel that time is now to make that additional step. We have a lot of different security tools that take man hours to monitor, watch, and tweak, and then continue to monitor and watch to defend our network. So I just feel that the time is now, and I feel that I can find the right person internally and then backfill that position next year to make it budget friendly for the 2021 budget.
Questions?
Mr. Chairman, let's surprise Monty and approve this.
Is that a motion?
Yes, sir.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Hart,
Aye.
Bender,
Aye.
Benega,
Aye.
Karski.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Keep us safe. Special personnel action to approve a new grant-funded diversion program coordinator for the state's attorney's office through December 31st of 2023.
This one is probably not new to you either. You might remember that Michelle Boyd was in talking about the grant-funded position earlier. Daniel Hagar has reviewed the position and provided us with information. We're recommending that we classify this position at a pay grade 16. You'll remember that we also have a juvenile division program coordinator. It's also a 16. If you approve this grant-funded position, which is through 2023 only, we'd recommend that we combine the position titles, refer to them as a division program coordinator, and have them both classified as a 16. Daniel Hager is here, and so is Michelle Boyd, if you have questions on the position itself.
Doing this, we're basically giving future authorization for an FTE for that department, that it'll be funded for next 2.5 years, but we pick up the tab after that, correct?
I don't believe there's a guarantee that we pick it up. Go ahead.
Oh, no, that's what I was just
Okay.
going to say as well. Go ahead.
So usually what we've been doing in the past couple of years with budget hearings is we're reviewing all those grant-funded positions so that we keep a close eye on which ones are funded and when the funding ends, so that the commission consider which of those you want to continue funding into the future.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve the grant-funded diversion program coordinator for the state's attorney's office.
Second that motion.
Call the roll.
Hart. Bender,
Aye.
Benega,
Aye.
Karski.
Motion carries.
The
All
second
right.
last, oh, I'm sorry.
We got more?
We do, unfortunately. Quite a list.
Special personnel action to approve reclassification of custodian positions from pay grade 6 to pay grade 7.
The county used to have several custodians. We're now down to 4. 2 of them in facilities, 2 of them in the museum. One of those positions recently became vacant, so we did a review of all the custodian positions. As you can imagine, with salaries rising in Sioux Falls, we want to make sure that we're providing a rate of pay that's appropriate. And in this case, we wanted to make sure that really there's an equitable level considering the duties that those people are performing. What we found is of the 3 people who are at the pay grade 6 level, 1 works really independently and the other 2 involve light maintenance work. Given that, we really feel it's more appropriate for them to be classified at a pay grade 7. So what I'm recommending today is that classification at 7, and then we would just simply use the title of custodian for all of our positions.
My only question, Carrie, is pay grade 6 is paid how much and a 7 is paid how much?
Yep, the base salary for pay grade 6 is $14.04, and for the pay grade 7, the base is $14.74. This wouldn't have any immediate cost impact if you approve it. Individuals at pay grade 6 would move to the pay grade 7 at their current rate of pay. But as people would reach the maximum, then they do have the additional ability to grow their salary by 5%, so a fairly minimal cost impact.
Other questions?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on, consider a motion to approve the 2021 Minnehaha County Affirmative Action Plan. Genetics. Give Carrie a break.
Thanks, Carrie. Good morning, Jen Oddix with Human Resources. This morning, I'm going to present you with the results of our affirmative action plan. A full plan and the charts were emailed to commissioners, department heads, and our diversity committee met last week. We went through the plan in great detail. So I'll just take a look at the charts with you, and they're going to look at our employees here at county who are in protected classes as compared to those who are available to us to hire from the external workforce, which is the Sioux Falls Metropolitan Statistical Area. I know you're quite familiar with these charts, so I'll go through them briefly, but I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. All of our data is organized by job group, and so our goals on these chart is that red column. Where we're currently at as employee workforce here at county is the column right next to it on the right. So in this one, it's the blue column. This looks at our minorities employed here at county. Very slight underutilization in officials job category, professionals and paraprofessionals, skilled craft, and technicians. While that sounds like a lot of underutilization, they're small job groups, very slight. In every case, hiring 2 or fewer people would offset any underutilization. Our next chart is set up the same way. Our goal is the red. Where we're at right now is in the orange column, and this is looking at females employed here at the county. We're only underutilized in 3 job categories, and service maintenance and skilled craft. In both cases, 2 or fewer people would offset that and help us meet our goal. In our technicians job group, we do appear to be a little bit more underutilized. This job group here at county is fairly small. A lot of the job titles that are in the EEOC's definition for technicians, we don't have here at the county. It's significantly broader. It includes nurses, medical technicians, computer programmers, which we only have a few of. Some of them we don't have any. So I think that really helps to account for our disparity. Our next chart is protected veterans. We just have an overall workforce goal. We don't have to break it down by county, or excuse me, by job group. Overall, our goal there is the 5.9%. Currently, we're at 9.36% protected veterans here at county, so great representation of veterans. Our next chart is individuals with disabilities. There's a national benchmark of 7% for this category. We apply that to each job group. We do fall short just a little bit in professionals and in service maintenance, but again, in both job groups, 2 or fewer people would offset that underutilization. This chart breaks down the race and ethnic categories within the county, just as a point of interest to look at. The green is where Minnehaha County is at. The blue is our civilian labor force. Overall, 9.89% of our employees here at county are minorities, as compared to our 6.5% available workforce. So very strong minority representation here at county. And our final chart looks at gender here at the county. Female, we have just over 40% of our employees who are females as compared to 48%, which is available to us to hire from our external workforce, so not a great disparity there. Overall, no strong areas of concerns. Of course, we're going to continue to monitor all of our job groups throughout the year, particularly in those areas where we do have underutilization. The 2020 census data will be out soon, so we'll be looking at that information and reviewing those numbers, so we're ready and know what to expect for our 2022 analysis. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Otherwise, I would just request formal approval of the affirmative action plan.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question.
Commissioner Barth.
So are employed numbers similar to the application numbers that we have? In other words, if we have, more, are the number of veterans that apply for jobs here similar to the number that we hire, or do we have more veterans that apply, or more women, or whatever?
That is something that we break down and talk about specifically in our diversity committee meeting, and we go through every single job category and all the job searches to see how many protected veterans, how many people in all of the protected classes applied versus how many we hire. It's still, of course, about hiring the best qualified person for that position, but we do take a look at that and analyze where we have that underutilization. So in some cases, we'll have more protected veterans apply than we hire, but in other cases, it just kind of varies depending on the job group.
Mr. Chairman, we may not be qualified, but do you look at elected officials and use our statistics? I mean, Dean here is a veteran, as am I.
We're a
and,
special category, Judge.
We have obviously quite a few women elected in this county.
Just for the affirmative action plan, elected officials are not included in our analysis, so we do appreciate your service, though, of course.
Did we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to
Second.
approve.
Motion and a second
Thank you
to
so much
approve
for
our
this.
affirmative action plan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approved, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, abatements recommended for approval.
Good
Morning,
morning,
Chris.
Commissioners. Chris Lilla, Equalization Office. Yeah, before you today, we have three abatements that we're recommending for approval. Item A is Sioux Falls School District parcel number 29804 of 2020 property taxes, the amount of $8605. Again, this is an exempt entity that acquired a property mid-year. We're recommending approval on that. I don't know if you want to do these one at a time, or,
I think we need to because they're separate entities. So need a motion?
Make a motion on A in favor.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Bark,
Aye.
Benega,
Aye.
Bender,
Aye.
Karski.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to Brandon Township.
yep, Brandon Township parcel number 92619, 2020 property tax, the amount of $1,038.20. Again, exempt entity, same reasoning. Our office is recommending approval of abatement.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Benega,
Aye.
Bark,
Aye.
Bender, aye. Karski.
Aye, motion carries. And our last.
Item C, Centennial Homes, parcel 86156, 2020 property tax, the amount of $720. This one's a little unique. So when mobile home, whenever they're going to move a mobile home, they have to pay the current taxes, bring them current, as well as pay ahead. Because they wouldn't, when they move to another taxing entity, they weren't there on November 1st to be collected, so they have to pay ahead in the county they're at. This one here did move, they did follow the procedure, they did pay ahead. Something happened in the coding at the treasurer's office to stop the collection a second time because they'd already paid ahead. They received a tax bill and paid it inadvertently again. So through the research of that, just a glitch again in the computer system. So our office is recommending approval.
Make a motion to approve with a comment.
Second.
Commissioner?
You know, these mobile homes disappear all the time without any by your leave. I think they're supposed to get a permit to move them, and they don't. And they call them mobile homes for a reason. You know, think about your automobile. What if you had to pay your taxes on your automobile a year later? Give me a break. They ought to revert it back into being mobile and not real estate.
Real property. Motion and a second. Roll call vote?
Bark, Bender,
Aye.
Benega,
Aye.
Karski.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioner.
We have a couple notices. Am I supposed to read the notices? Sure, I will. Notice of disinterment permit issued by the South Dakota Department of Health for the remains of James Reynolds. And second notice, authorize the auditor to publish requests for proposals for transitional housing and cultural services funded through the COSAP grant, and to make determination that the use of a competitive sealed bid process is not practical or advantageous to the county in acquiring a vendor for those services, and to utilize a competitive sealed proposals process. Is that this, Eric? Okay. Okay. Morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Michelle Boyd with the Sheriff's Office. If you recall, in December of 2020, I was in front of you to accept the COSAP grant, which we just talked about with the diversion officer as well. One of the aims was for Minnehaha County to develop strategies to support access to treatment, recovery, and diversion for substance abuse, which focuses on meth and alcohol. Through this, we intend to advertise a competitive RFP for an organization to handle a housing contract that provides this safe and sober housing. Because the Native American population in our community is disproportionately represented, this organization will collaborate with the Urban Indian Health in our community to provide culturally appropriate services. And so in front of you, I have a copy of the RFP. It has the program descriptions included in it, and so I would like to ask that you authorize the auditor's office to publish the RFP for transitional housing and cultural services for the 3-year grant period, which will be up in 2023. If approved, the request for proposals will be issued on April 12th with a deadline for submittal at 10:15 on Wednesday, May 5th. Any questions?
Commissioner Karski?
Commissioner Bender.
So, and you may have told us this when we were talking about the grant application, but can you remind us why you picked meth as opposed to any of the other number of illegal drugs that people abuse?
So the COSAP grant is specifically for meth and stimulants. And so opioids, it's all outlined. Actually, for opioids is what it mainly targets. And so and it says other drugs also as well. So that's kind of the target population under this grant.
So it's going to be a little broader than just meth?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay,
yep.
that's
I'm sorry,
that's
there
where
will
I
be
got confused, so thank you.
Opioid stimulants, and then it does say other drugs, and alcohol's included in there as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I would make a motion to approve the publishing of the request for those proposals for the transitional housing and cultural services.
Second.
Motion and a second. I don't have to read anything else, do I?
Well, you should have in the motion that you're making the determination that it's laid out on your agenda, that it's impractical and not advantageous to the county to use the bid.
Part of that motion is that the use of a competitive sealed bid process is not practical or advantageous to the county in acquiring a vendor for these services to utilize a competitive sealed bid proposal process.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
All righty.
I knew you were thinking that.
Yep. Call the roll, please.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. And thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Now we're going to look for a motion to authorize the auditor to publish notice of hearing on April 27th, 2021 at 9 a.m. for a major amendment to the Cedar Ridge Plan Development District. My only question, do we have a meeting scheduled for the 27th?
Yeah, we're only doing the second meeting of every month that we're closed unless there's a fifth meeting. and I think
Okay,
that's
the fifth
fourth
meeting, okay.
It is a little confusing.
Okay. Yeah. I'm confused, so I've already planned to be gone that day. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning. Scott Anderson, Planning Director, and you scared me a little bit because I was hoping we were going to have a meeting that day. So today I'm bringing a request before you to authorize the auditor publish a hearing notice. This would be a hearing notice for a major amendment to an existing plan development, the Cedar Ridge Plan Development. You're familiar with this, is about 1.5 miles north of Renner on Old 77. The applicant, the amendment is to allow 2 additional single-family residence sites to be located in sub-area A. And this was before the Planning Commission at their last meeting in March. And on March 22nd, I've included those minutes for your review. The Planning Commission recommended and voted 5-1 to deny the amendment to allow the 2 additional single-family residential lots. But we will be having, as I indicated, a public hearing on the 27th at 9 a.m. And I would ask for your permission to have the auditor publish this hearing notice, and I am here to answer any questions that you have.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve publishing the hearing notice, and just I have a comment.
Before we get a second, can I, the 27th, I am going to be gone, and I'd really like to be here for this one. Are we married to that day? Do we have to have it that day if notice has been sent out?
No, they haven't been sent out, but we have worked with the applicant, and he would like to have it on that day. We have announced at our Planning Commission meeting to the people that may have been in attendance and listening on Zoom that it was going to be that day. But You are certainly free to change the date to whatever day you like, and I guess I can notify the applicant and we could move forward with that. I have prepared the hearing notice. We would just need to change the date, and it hasn't been sent out yet, so.
I'll leave that up to the rest of the commission, just so you know that I won't be here for that.
I have no problem changing the date if you feel like you need to be here or want
I
to be
don't feel like I
here.
need to be here, but if you're okay with me being gone, I enjoy the zoning issues, so I like the conversation, so I don't have to be here for that one.
So a week later would be the 4th of
May 4th.
May?
Yep.
I guess if it's okay with the applicant, I wouldn't have a problem with changing it, but we probably need to know that right now to
Yeah.
publish.
We would need to know that right now, and then I will let the applicant, Brad Wagner, know that your preference was to put it on the 4th because of attendance, and we move on from there.
Mr. Chairman, I withdraw my motion and resubmit it with the 4th as the date for the hearing, and then I will have a comment, assuming we go further.
Would it make sense to try to reach Brad right now and just come back, move you to a little bit later in the agenda? and have
I
you
can
come
do
back?
that. I can see if I can call him up quickly if you'd like to delay this for 5 or 10 minutes. I can give him a call.
Why don't we
Do
do
that,
that?
I'll again withdraw my motion.
Okay. We'll suspend the action on this for a few minutes and
Okay, let
come
me
back
run up
to
to
it.
my office. I'll call him. I'll pull his number, and see if I can get a hold of him. I will come right back down, and we'll go from there. Thanks.
I was going to just comment, if you read the text on this, that I made a motion to approve, got no second. I made a motion to deny, and it passed. And so I made a motion on both sides on this issue. It bothers me when people sit on their hands and don't take action.
No, but as the chair, I appreciate getting that, so. Okay, we have no petitions for compromise of lien, and we are now at public input. If anybody's here for public input that would like to talk to the commission, now is your opportunity. Nobody's running down the hall, so let's move on to regular business. Consider a motion to issue a proclamation declaring April 11th through April 17th, 2021 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Minnehaha County, and our primary telecommunicator. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Commission. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you this morning to talk about National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. As the chairman said, I'm Scott McMahon, the Director of Metro Communications, and each and every year during the second week of April, PSAPs or 911 centers across the nation recognize the second week in April as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. And we've had just great support from the Commission, the City Council, all of the agencies that we serve at Metro Communications over the years to really come in and help us recognize the efforts and the critical work that communication operators play in public safety. So with that, we would like to request a proclamation from this body to help us recognize the staff during Telecommunicators Week. So with that, I'd ask for the chairman to sign a proclamation recognizing that week as National Public Safety Telecommunications
Would you like to
Week.
read the proclamation? I think it has to be read in for the record. Go ahead, Scott.
Okay, well, whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property, and whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone Metro Communications, and whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, and whereas, I'm gonna wait till it stops scrolling. Okay, and whereas an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to protection of life and preservation of property, and whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone Metro Communications. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services, and where public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the Metro Communications Agency have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients, and whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now therefore be it resolved that the Minnehaha County Commission declares the week of April 11th through the 17th, 2021 to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Minnehaha County in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and citizens safe.
Thank you, Scott. Look for a motion.
So move.
Second.
Call the roll.
Bender. Aye. Benega.
Aye.
Barr. Aye. Karski.
Aye. Motion carries. A huge thank you to everybody in that department. It couldn't happen without them, so appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you, and we're here to provide the service that is so important to public safety and our citizens here in Minnehaha County and City of Sioux Falls. So we just, we're grateful to have that opportunity on a day-to-day basis to really make a difference in public safety. So
We're
thank you.
happy to have all of you here.
Thank you.
It's a tough job.
Great job, Scott.
Thank you.
See you Wednesday, tomorrow. Thursday. See you Thursday.
But you come tomorrow.
I'll be here Thursday. Okay, budget hearing to consider proposed 2021 supplemental budget. Kim Adamson. Morning, Kim.
Good morning, Commissioners. The hearing this morning is to consider a number of budget supplement requests to the 2021 budget. Included with your briefing materials was a detailed listing of the individual budget lines included in the supplement requests. And so at this time, I would just ask if there are any questions regarding specific supplement requests.
If there's any surprises here, numbers we've seen many times before, so just make it official. So I'll look for a motion.
Would move for approval.
Second.
Call the roll.
Public, it's a budget hearing. Do we need to have proponents and opponents speak?
Anybody here else that would like, from the public, that would like to talk about this? Opponents, proponents? Everybody's had their opportunity, so we have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Benega.
Aye.
Barr.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Karski.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you.
Kim.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Bender. It is a hearing, so by hearings, we do take public input, so. Briefing on the Sheriff's Office and Jail Division. The illustrious Mike Milstead. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Commissioners. I have several people with me today to present a little bit about Sheriff's Office operation as well as the jail. We're going to kind of
We
bring
have some
everything
chairs.
into one presentation today. So we will try to be short and brief and take some time if you have any questions to answer those questions. I'm going to start with Warden Madsen, and before I do, I do want to thank first and foremost my staff. It's been a difficult year with COVID and all of the new things that occurred, including moving into a new jail addition, completing the training on that, dealing with COVID PPE and inmates that had COVID and staff that had COVID, changing completely the way we had to do some of our business, reprioritizing our operations. I have a tremendous respect for the men and women who work for the Sheriff's Office, who were able to accomplish great things, I think, during that period of time. And so we'll talk a little bit about that, but more importantly, we'll just give you a briefing this morning, and we'll start with Warden Madsen in the jail.
Morning, Commissioners. Mike Masson, Warden in the Minnehaha County Jail. Am I forwarding this, Trish? Okay. So put together a little PowerPoint presentation for you. 2020 overview. We had just under 16,500 bookings for the year. That is a decrease from 2019, which was over 21,000. We anticipate this to increase in 2021 to numbers that are more similar to pre-COVID. In September of 2020, we occupied and began working out of the jail expansion. This proved to be a fundamental change in how we process new admissions and releases. Our new intake area has been a success and is a lot more efficient. Staff love it. Transitional housing area allowed us to have better control over who's getting transferred into the main jail and provides a separate area to process people being released. The addition of the jail courtroom was monumental as it's been proven to be more efficient in getting inmates to and from their initial appearances. Again, staff, I haven't heard a bad thing about it, so that's been really great. Rental beds, 2019 Board of Prisoners revenue was just shy of 900,000. 2020 revenue surpassed our projections by a little more than 730,000. 2020 we continue to meet Lincoln County Jail's needs, and we've also increased the rental beds for the U.S. Marshal Service. We continue to rent beds to outside agencies for $97.34 a day. Those are county contracts, and $97 a day for federal contracts. Our average daily population, 2019 showed consistent ADP with a year average of 402. There's a definite increase in the fourth quarter with occupying the new 5th floor and increasing rental beds. That's when we occupied UC5. 2020 shows a decline during the initial months of COVID-19, but then we started to increase and our ADP ended up being 426. 2020 average length of stay. The data shows an inmate's average length of stay in jail was 9 days. This is pretty consistent with what we've had previously. 2021 projections. Rental beds should remain fairly consistent in 2021, where we continue to average 90 to 100 rental beds per day. While we see a downward trend in COVID-19, we'll maintain our developed practices to mitigate potential infections in the jail, both with inmates and with staff. With one floor currently vacant, we will work with facilities and be able to complete some facelift projects in the existing jail, so we're matching our brand new parts. Staffing, jail staffing situation has shown some improvement. 2020 turnover was 18%. This is a slight increase from 2019, which was 15%. That's the lowest that it's been in a while, so a little uptick from there. I will say that the turnover that we generally have is good turnover. It's corrections officers moving on to other law enforcement jobs where they go on to patrol or another agency, or our own agency. At the present time, jail staffed, our budget is staffing authorizations. 2020 was a very busy hiring year. We had 7 new hire classes totaling 44 new officers. And then to date in 2021, we've had 2 classes totaling 14 officers. The number of our new officers is a combination of the existing vacancies that needed to be filled, as well as hiring for the 12 new budgeted positions that were allocated in 2020. And there's some of our new staff that graduated their class. 2021, we began our new medical contract with Correctional Medical Management to provide our comprehensive medical services in the jail. The transition so far has gone very well, and we look forward to the upcoming years of a good working relationship with them. On January 26th, we approached the Commission and briefed them regarding an expected increase in medical costs for 2021. And additionally, CMM has undertaken finding all of our outstanding medical claims and working to ensure all those outstanding claims are paid. That were the responsibility of the jail. What's coming in 2022? Training as a whole, law enforcement as a whole has been in the public eye, and one of the focal points has been training. We provide quality training for correction staff, however, we'd like to see some increased budgeted monies for additional training. That includes sending people to outside training, train the trainer type courses so they can get trained and bring it back and hold training inside the jail. Whenever we do training, we have an overtime cost to it as well. So the other thing on here is we need to replace the existing fingerprint machine in our intake area and in one of our UPS battery backups. That's a significant cost. Planning for 2023, so we're looking into the future here. Currently, we're at jail housing capacity with one floor, 148 beds being vacant. This was left vacant, and our plan was to grow into that. With our current number of inmates and the 90 to 100 rental beds, there will be a need to grow into the occupying vacant floor in 23 due to natural growth. This is substantiated through a recent projection from Bill Garnos. We'll look at budgeting in 22 to increase staffing. We'll have to hire people the previous year in order to get those numbers up and get them trained, so when we do have to occupy it, we have the people. By occupying the vacant floor, we'll be able to increase the current number of rental beds and help offset the increased staffing costs. The alternate is to limit the number of rental beds that we have, which is more of a short-term solution. Chief Deputy Jeff Gromer.
How we doing? Jeff Gromer, Chief Deputy for the Sheriff's Office. The Sheriff's Office presentation is really quite brief. We addressed a lot of the pandemic issues through the field division. I really want to, as the sheriff did, compliment the staff. While that pandemic response didn't adjust our workflows very much at the Sheriff's Office, it did make a pretty substantial change to the practices, and the staff did a really good job being flexible and getting through the pandemic response by adjusting how they were responding to things. The patrol division, the call volumes remained fairly steady. The only real adjustment we had in patrol workflow was the staff, at our request and our direction, did fewer self-initiated stops and things like that. Early on in the response, we were very concerned about them, one, exposing themselves, but also exposing other people through these various traffic stops. So they did limit some of that activity to an extent, which we're seeing picking up now as we start to get through the response. The warrant and civil process numbers held really steady through the pandemic. The investigative caseloads really didn't change at all through the pandemic either, so all of that stuff maintained fairly consistent throughout the year. 2021 projections, we don't see a lot of significant changes on the horizon, other than as the community comes out of the pandemic response, we'll see a lot more activity just generally increase throughout the county, which the more activity in the county, obviously the more need we'll have for our services. We don't see that our staffing numbers or our staffing allocations are going to need to be adjusted. We feel our current staffing will be able to meet that need for 2022. We are currently utilizing body-worn cameras. Captain Bosman was able to get this policy written and this pushed through. It's very nice to have those for some of the officers that don't have their in-car cameras, like guys doing civil papers or detectives that are going out to meet people. Being able to implement these cameras really keeps us up to date and current with some of the trends that are occurring in law enforcement. 2021 staffing for the Sheriff's Office has been very good. We are currently short 2 officers, which are in the hiring process. With that being said, the patrol division is currently fully staffed. We're hiring these 2 officers. The detective division is down 1 investigator, as is the warrant task force is down 1 officer. And as these 2 new hires get trained and start to get out on the roads on their own, then we'll backfill those 2 vacant spots. The Air Guard is fully staffed, airport's fully staffed, Southeast Tech, we do have a vacancy there that we'll need to fill, but the civil and admin sections are fully staffed. So our staffing in the Sheriff's Office is very good. We don't envision any changes in the upcoming budget year. Some preliminary thoughts, that's a hard word for me to say all of a sudden. For the 2020 budget, The sheriff is going to step back up once I'm done and go into this request that we're proposing for a deputy state's attorney assigned to the sheriff's office specifically. Our agencies continues to grow between the sheriff's office and the jail. Just with that growth comes more complexity, more third-party contracts, more things of that nature that will be really working with the state's attorney and his office on how best to address that. And we think that a designated deputy state's attorney is probably the best route to go. As Warden Mattson mentioned too, one of the focuses we're really going to be looking at in the upcoming budget year with the sheriff's office is on training. Our training budget has stayed pretty consistent over the last few years, and what we're seeing is that while a lot of these trainings are going to an online format with COVID, that helps with some of the travel that goes with them, but the cost of those trainings continue to stay the same or continue to increase. And at the same time, many of the more advanced training classes still require travel, which the cost of travel just continue to increase. So we want to make sure we're continuing to provide officers with access for that ongoing training. That's about all I've got.
All right.
No real significant changes from the sheriff's office on the horizon.
Chief Deputy. Welcome back, Sheriff.
Thank you. A couple of things. One of them is that I think the Lincoln County Commission is receiving some fairly good news this morning from Bill Garnos, who is presenting on his inmate projections and jail bed need projections. And we're going to ask Mr. Garnos to present to this commission as well. Couldn't do it both at the same time, so maybe we'll get a Zoom or something in the next week or two. But the good news that he's reporting to them is that, and it's good news for us too, is that if we just based the needs on Minnehaha and Lincoln counties, we're sitting pretty good till 2030, which is a good projection, at least for now. And as such, as the warden indicated, you know, we're going to need to look at opening up the vacant floor and adding additional beds at some point. It could be 23. I mean, part of that is a commission decision on when do you want to move forward with that. And it'll impact, you know, things could impact it, like some of the alternatives to incarceration, some of the programs that may deflect someone from a custodial arrest, and some of the other things that we're working on with MacArthur and Safety and Justice Challenge. So it's nice to have that flexibility, but it's nice to see that we're not, you know, we're not going to, we should have built bigger or we're in a pinch, because we're not. And I think it should relieve some of the pressure in Lincoln County as well in those discussions. So we'll get that, the revised draft report. I do want to credit the warden and chief deputy for working pretty hard on the original draft to get some things clarified. So that's one of the good things. The second is the state's attorney. The chief deputy mentioned the state's attorney position. You know, for many years, as I go to training and deal with the National Sheriff's Association and some of the liability training that we receive, even over and above that, the focus is that if an agency this size really should have a dedicated attorney that's focused on the issues, the complex issues sheriff's offices deal with. If you think about our department, you know, we have our civil process division that handles about 18,000 civil processes, judgment executions, foreclosures, lockouts, protection orders. We have the mental health issues and that we deal with. We have the jail, all the operations within the jail. We have all the patrol, use of force, body-worn cameras, in-car cameras, retention of evidence, retention of data. There's so many things that the key message that we're receiving from liability providers is in an agency our size, we should have an attorney, and the best fit is a state's attorney. And so I'm really impressed that State's Attorney Hager has been working with us on that, and now is dedicating, at least identifying our, I'll call it go-to attorney within his office, so that when we have an issue in the civil division or the warrant division or patrol division or jail division, not related to an arrest, they'll still have the normal process for the state's attorneys that handle arrests, But for questions about process, policy, laws, statutes, we'll have a go-to person. In exchange for that, we want to be able to provide that go-to person with additional training specific to specializing in that field. And so the state's attorney's office, the description that I get from outside our state's attorney's office is, if you have a state's attorney, a deputy state's attorney who in the morning is dealing with a hog confinement issue and at noon is dealing on a zoning issue and at 2 o'clock in the afternoon is trying to work on a commission agenda item, analyzing something for the auditor's office, and then the next thing they're supposed to work on is the use of force policy for the jail. And they just said, no, you need to specialize, and that's our goal, is to specialize. And I really appreciate it. I will be standing at budget time looking to support a FTE for the state's attorney for that purpose. So I'm just, I guess prompt you into thinking about that, because I do think it's critically important. I don't think they can just absorb that within their agency. And so it's very important to us. And I'll end with this. We had a retirement on Friday. Mike Walsh, captain of our patrol division, retired after 26 years of dedicated service, tremendous officer. But obviously he has to be replaced. And we have a great replacement, and I want to introduce him to you today. And his name's Adam Ziska. He's our new patrol commander. And I'll let Adam come up and just tell a little bit about himself quickly, and then we'll open it up to any questions the commission might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Welcome. And congratulations.
Thank you very much. Good morning. As the sheriff said, my name is Adam Ziska. I just elected to be the new patrol commander here for Minnehaha County Sheriff's Office. I couldn't be happier. I've spent the majority of my career on patrol. I've also had some other specialty assignments, and I was in the Detective Bureau here at the county for a while. I've had about 12 years, just under 13 years of law enforcement experience. I started my career in Multnomah County, Oregon, in Portland. Moved here in 2013, started the Sheriff's Office, and here I stand. I'm excited to serve these communities that I am a part of, where I live, and I'm excited to meet you guys more. I've met some of you as my position as the DA, Deputy Associate President. I look forward to meeting with you more.
I, for one, think Sioux Falls is prettier than Multnomah Falls, but that's just me. I've seen them both, so welcome. Thank you.
Big shoes.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen. Michelle?
Oh, no, I'm here for the next item.
Yep, all righty. Any questions, commissioners?
Well, I don't really have a question. I just would like to thank all you guys. I mean, you guys did a great job presenting a lot of information. It's hard to capture the kind of year you had, and you made it sound like it was kind of like all things were under control, and you did have all things under control, but it was a big year with COVID and all the things that your staff had to deal with, wearing protective equipment and still having to try to deal with inmates and people who are stressed out. I mean, average people were stressed out most of last year. And so thank you very much. And I would just say that I have had an opportunity to visit a little bit with the sheriff and with the state's attorney about this idea of a dedicated state's attorney position. And I'm very supportive of it. I'm also the liaison to the highway right now, and I know that they have they take almost every opportunity they can to thank the commission for having a dedicated state's attorney that focuses on their issues, and they do deal with a wide variety of issues, which makes their jobs very interesting, no doubt. But I think I'd be very supportive of trying to get a little opportunity for somebody to specialize in what are also a very diverse set of issues, but different than a lot of the other things that we deal with here.
Thank you.
Commissioner Benega?
Well, I'm not going to repeat what Commissioner Bender said, but most of us over the years have had the opportunity to watch what's going on in the Sheriff's Department, and fortunately, you guys have shown your leadership and led us through one of the most difficult times we've ever had in history. between yourselves and I think the medical community, we are very proud of the people that we have working for us, and thanks.
Thank you, Commissioners.
I guess the only thing I have to say is I'm looking forward to that Garnis report because my good friend from Lincoln County, Commissioner Schmidt, and I, that's always a topic of discussion, so
You'll have
looking
plenty to
forward to
talk
it.
about.
Yep. All righty. We're going to circle back to our planning and zoning notice, and we're looking to set a date of hearing. Scott?
Good morning, Scott Anderson again, and I was able to get a hold of both Brad Wagner, the owner, and Eric Willitson, his engineer, and the May 4th meeting will not work because Eric Willitson is going to be leaving town, and he will on the 4th. He won't, and he wants to represent the property owner. So they, and then of course the next week we don't meet as a commission because that would be the 12th or the 11th. Sorry. So they are proposing, if it works for the commission, the 18th. They're not in any real huge hurry, I guess. So if the 18th, May 18th would work, that would be satisfactory to both Brad Wagner and Eric Willitson to attend. I was able to get a hold of both of them.
The 18th works for me, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion to move that hearing to the, approve that hearing for the 18th of May.
Just a second, I'm sorry. I'll make it work.
Motion?
I'll second the motion then.
We're looking to publish a notice of hearing for May 18th, 2021. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Scott.
Thank you, Scott, for that extra word. Appreciate it. Morning, Michelle. Back to
This
something
may
with
be a
COSAC
record
again.
for you, Michelle, to this many appearances, separate appearances.
Here with all things COSAP this morning. And just to piggyback off of what Sheriff Milstead was talking about with the State's Attorney's Office, I have to thank Mr. Bogue for all the work he did with this COSAP grant. I've kept him busy over the last few months reviewing all of this paperwork and getting his approval, so I appreciate the work that they have done for us. I have the next two agenda items, and the first one is request for authorization for the sheriff to sign the agreement between our department and Avera McKinnon for the peer navigator support position under the COSAP grant. This position will engage in advocating for people in recovery. They'll share resources, help them to build skills, build community relationships, lead recovery groups, mentor, and set goals for these individuals. One thing that will be nice about this is it'll be able to work closely with the adult diversion position that you just approved. One thing that we are lacking in our community that we find is that gap for the first-time offenders. There's not really a lot of support when you first get in trouble to try to get you into recovery or connect with those services. The specialty courts that I'm on, generally you've been in trouble for many years, you're heading to the penitentiary if you don't do the specialty court. So this is kind of fills that gap there to try to help people who are early in their addiction before they get to the point of needing, more severe help or recovery services. So I would like to request that you allow the sheriff to sign this agreement.
Questions? Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second, I guess my only comment from my work with the Link for the last 4 or 5 years and understanding of mental health and co-occurring addiction issues, that the peer navigator support is absolutely critical to the success. So I'm fully supportive of this. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Last thing, COSAP.
Yes, the next thing I would like to request authorization for the sheriff to sign agreement between our department and the University of South Dakota for research assistance and data reporting. So Commissioner Karski, to speak to your question earlier about ongoing funding and whether this is budgeted, this group will be able to evaluate and assess what it is we're doing under this grant. So our goal is to provide you with that necessary data so that you can make some of those decisions when the grant is up, whether we feel like it's something that's benefiting our community or not. Our hope is that we have a lot of success out of these different programs that we have really worked hard to join together so they all work in conjunction with each other.
So it's more than just a good feeling, we actually have data.
Yes, that is what we hired USD to do. You know, USD has another contract that Carol Muller's going to be here for. That's for different services than what we're asking for. This is specifically paid for under the COSAP grant, and there's a lot of grant reporting that is required to BJA for this, and so that is what this specific contract is for.
Questions, comments, motions?
Make a motion to approve that, to authorize the sheriff's office to enter that agreement.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Mr.
Thank
Chairman.
you very much.
Question for Michelle here. Michelle, you're doing all those other courts too, like drug court and all that. And I just heard recently about traumatic brain injury court. Have you ever heard of such a thing? And is that you know, I actually know people who do dumb stuff after having brain injuries. But is that something that we might look at?
I do go to our national conferences, so I have heard of it. There aren't any here in South Dakota, and I haven't really heard of them on the horizon. So I'm not quite sure. You know, sometimes funding is difficult for these courts, and it takes a lot of resources and a lot of time. So right now we have mental health court, which some people have some difficulties that way, that they would probably fit on our mental health court, at least currently, what we have set up here in our community.
Thank you. I might call you.
Heard it here first. All righty.
And then if I might, Commissioner Bender, just to speak, you had asked the question about MESS specifically with the transitional housing. I should probably expand on that. So opioids obviously are dangerous in our community, and the overdoses generally come from like opioids and fentanyl. However, the number of meth cases that we have are significantly higher in our community. So that's kind of why the transitional housing is geared towards focusing more on the meth and the alcohol. Not that it won't be all-encompassing of the other drugs. So that's kind of why that wording was that way. I went back and read it and understood where that question came from. So,
Thanks.
is there any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Moving on, consider bid results and award recommendation for mowing and trimming, and authorize chair to sign agreement with CMG Property Maintenance for project MC 21-08. Bids were open on March 24th. Shannon, right there, I was looking on the computer.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chairman, thank you. Yes, we opened bids on March 24th for the annual mowing and trimming contract. There were no bid anomalies. We had 3 bidders. They are in front of you there. We had CMG Property, D&K Lawn Care, and Northwest Landscaping. CMG Property Maintenance came in as low bidder, and that is our recommendation for award.
All righty, look for a motion.
There is, I make a motion to approve CMG Property Maintenance for this contract.
Second.
Questions,
Excuse
comments?
me.
Roll call vote.
Hiberger, oh, sorry. Barth,
Aye.
Bender. Aye. Benega.
Aye.
Karski.
Motion carries. Moving on, next highway item, consider bid results and award recommendations for the annual materials letting, and authorize chair to sign 5 vendor agreements for the supplies. Bids were open on March 17th.
Yes, again, thank you, Commissioners. In the commission agenda item there's a lot more detail, but I'll just kind of hit the highlights here. The following is a summary of recommended awards to be made to each vendor. Proposal number 1, medium curing cutback asphalt, is also known as MC70, to Jebro. Hot mix asphalt was proposal number 2 for concrete pavement, and that was Merlin Roy's Paving. LG Everest. And for the record, I will just say that in my 30-some years of doing this, there has never been a tied public bid. And in that particular case, Merlin Royce and Concrete Materials tied. So according to statute, the way to break that tie was a lottery. In this case, since there was two bidders, it was a coin toss. So interesting. Thank you for the indulgence there. Proposal number 3 was snowplow and motor grader blade cutting edges. The recommended award is to Equipment Blades, Inc. Number 4 was abrasive salt, which we just call salt sand, Concrete Materials. And number 5 is rock salt and transportation, which is Johnson Feed. I mentioned the coin toss tie. Secondly, there was an irregularity or an anomaly with proposal number 3, snowplow and motor grader cutting edges. One of the bids was from RDO. In their bid, the units were altered on the proposal form so that its bid was submitted per edge rather than per foot as specified. In-house, we changed, or we converted their edge, and for example, if it was a 4-foot edge, we divided their bid price by 4 to get the unit foot cost. And it was, their irregularity is immaterial because they still would not have been low bidder.
And we can take these all as one action? Is that correct, Eric? Okay.
I would make a motion to approve all of these 5 bids. I do have a question.
Commissioner Barth.
So Shannon, just to be clear, in case anyone is watching, these were 5 separate bids that we opened. They weren't all part of one contract where you had to have cutting edges plus asphalt plus rock salt, right?
Typically, correct. And if usually one vendor only bids on one portion of that proposal, and if there is something turned in that's not part of their, I guess, specialty, those people that turn in write no bid on the ones they're not bidding on.
Right. So you didn't have to bid on all 5 of these things in order to get anything?
Absolutely not.
Just wanted to make that clear.
Other questions, comments? Commissioner Benega.
Shannon, just a quick question. Have you looked back at prior years and compared that price to what the bids are for this year and what kind of growth or
Sure,
whatever
certainly.
we've seen?
Actually, this is details in the agenda item, and I'll just cover that. So hot mix asphalt is kind of one that everybody is sort of familiar with because highways and asphalt go together, right? So 21 in this year, the winning bid was $56 per ton. The previous year was $52 per ton, previous year $53, and in 2018 was $48.35. To also kind of as a barometer of changes in cost over time, rock salt and transportation is another significant cost to the highway department. In this year, the cost of the salt, I'll just say, has remained within $1 in the last 4 years. What changes significantly is the transportation cost per mile or per ton delivered to us, which also has some variability in it based on fuel prices. And I'll just go backwards in time. This year, $40.24 per ton. Previous year, $41.75. Previous year, $44.67. And then in 2018 was $39.13 per ton. So that's very closely tied to the cost of diesel fuel.
Yep. Thank you.
You bet.
All righty. Interesting year in bidding. We have a motion and a second. I need a roll call vote.
Bender.
Aye.
Benega.
Aye.
Karski.
Motion carries. And moving on, consider a motion to approve and authorize the chair to sign a purchase agreement for SDDOT to acquire right-of-way associated with South Dakota Highway 42 reconstruction. Shannon.
Thank you again, Commissioner. So the DOT is reconstructing Highway 42 on the east side of Sioux Falls, and one of those intersections intersects with our county Highway 109, and to make a safe and long-term performing intersection, it's to the DOT's advantage to alter the way that intersection comes into South Dakota 42. And basically to get rid of an adverse an angle, and people like to approach intersections at 90 degrees, and because of the way South Dakota 42 dives off to the south, they put a little skew into Highway 109 for us. They're buying the right-of-way in our name. They're building the project, and so there's really no cost to us. This is I guess, formality and sort of some just housekeeping to approve this agenda item. That is our request, is to authorize the chair to sign the agreement with the DOT, which allows them to purchase said right-of-way in our name. And it's also on both sides of the road, not just the south or the north. I would, I guess, want to point out who owns the land, and I'll just read this here. Lot H2, containing .66 acres, located in the northeast portion, is owned by Todd Jacobson, and Lot H1 of .06 acres is located in the southeast portion, and that land is currently owned by James and Mary Joe Swanson.
All righty, questions, comments, motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. This one we can do with a simple, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All righty, is Jacob here?
Jacobs are at the door.
All righty. Good morning, Jacob. We have two resolutions to apply for the South Dakota Department of Transportation Local Federal Bridge Replacement Program. Begin with NBI Structure 50-13704, 3.7 miles east of Colton. What
Morning,
we got?
Commissioners. Yeah, so we got two resolutions here to apply for some funding from the Local Federal Bridge Replacement Grant Program. This project started back in 2019. There's been money allocated in the last 3 years, 19, 20, and now 21. In 19, the money was given directly to the county and we could spend at our discretion. In 20, we had to apply to the state through a modified big score to get some funding. And we were awarded two structures last year. Those were an 80-20% match, and the state covered the rest of the 20% match. This year, it's an 80-20% match. The state hasn't offered to cover the 20% match, but we are applying for two structures. We are not as confident as we were last year based on what our modified big scores are. Last year, they awarded down to about a 30 big score, and the higher the number you have, the better chance you have of getting a score. The two that we have this year are the best candidates we have for this program, and they score a 27.42. So depending on what other counties submit their applications, we may or may not have a chance to replace these, so that's what we know.
So we're not authorizing the spending of any money, just the application for the program?
Yep, the application for the program, yep. We are guaranteeing that if we do receive this, that we will have funds available to cover our 20% match. For the first structure, the local share would be $322,000, and for the second structure, the local match would be $283,000, and that covers construction and engineering.
And these are in your budget?
These are not currently in the budget. These are projects that wouldn't happen this year or wouldn't happen next year. I'm assuming based on the previous projects, the funding would have to be spent by or allocated by 2025. So.
Okay. Other questions, comments?
Can we approve them both with one motion?
I think we need to have separate.
Okay, I make a motion for item A, 50-137-040.
I'll second that.
Roll call vote.
Bender. Aye. Benega.
Aye.
Barth.
Aye.
Karski.
Motion carries, and then look for a motion for
A
NBI
motion
structure.
in favor of bridge structure 50-330-183.
Second.
Call the roll.
Benega.
Aye.
Barth. Aye. Bender. Aye. Karski.
Motion carries. And moving on, authorize chair to sign the SDDOT grant agreement for project MC 21-09, structure 50279-140 rehab.
So a couple of weeks ago, I came to you with these same two projects. At that time, we were executing agreements with Civil Design Inc. out of Brookings, who is our engineer for these projects. The DOT gave us the go-ahead, the notice to proceed to get those contracts under agreement. These two agreements are with the DOT, just accepting the funding and guaranteeing that we will provide a 20% match to the state's contribution. The structures are 50, 279, 140, which would be on County Highway 130, 2 miles north of Corson, and then it would be 140, so it'd be 0.6 of a mile west of State Highway 11, and the other structure is just south of Sherman.
Questions?
I'd make a motion to authorize the chair to sign the DOT grant agreement for project MC 21-09.
Second.
Roll call, I'm sorry, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carries. And then look for a motion on project MC 21-10.
I'll make the same motion for project MC 21-10.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you, Jacob.
Yep.
Authorize, moving on, our agenda, authorize chair to sign an agreement with the USD School of Medicine,
That's Shannon's.
Family Medicine for community engagement services. Carol.
Good morning, Commissioners. Before you is an agreement with the USD School of Medicine, Family Medicine for Community Engagement Services. In March, the Commission authorized a 2-year agreement with the MacArthur Foundation to continue the work of the Safety and Justice Committee, Safety and Justice Challenge. Judge Hellman and Aaron Sertz have been in several times and talked to you about the excellent work that's being done. This is, it's not an extension, it's another 2 years that is being awarded to Minnehaha County from the MacArthur Foundation. The relationship that we've had with both MacArthur and with USD School of Medicine has been very successful, and I'm pleased that we're able to continue this for another 2 years. The 2-year total is for $489,000, of which $264,000 is from the MacArthur Foundation funding, and $225,000 is in general fund dollars. The one thing I do want to mention is that those general fund dollars come from, that we had an FTE when Aaron worked here. Those dollars have been redirected into this grant. And along with that, we had a couple of small contracts with them for various data collections that we were able to roll into that, and that's where that dollar amount came from. So no additional general fund dollars were being used beyond what we were already dedicating.
Okay. Questions for Carol? Comments?
I'd make a motion to authorize the chair to sign the agreement with USD School of Medicine.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. I will sign. Consider a motion to amend Resolution MC 2016 designating decision-making authority to the chair regarding COVID-related issues. Go ahead, Carol.
13 months ago, you adopted MC 20-16, which is a resolution authorizing the chairperson to make decisions that needed to be made related to COVID. At that time, we were building an airplane as we were flying it on all the things that were happening with COVID. And we didn't know. We were just going through a lot of things that were out there. This particular resolution removes 20-16 and replaces it with a resolution using the same language, except we add an ending date on it of May 31st, 2021. And you'll note on the cover memo that I've scheduled, I've already made my note for May 18th to come before you to have a briefing and a discussion on, do you want to extend that resolution, or where are we at in our community, and maybe we see things continuing to improve. So that is the resolution, just adds a end date onto it.
And if I may take the liberty.
Go ahead.
The last thing that came to me was from Carrie Benz, and unlike Commissioner Bender, I'm not creative enough with these things to do this on my own. And I've done it, no, I'm kidding, Commissioner. But to continue the masks and the federal benefits that technically ended the end of last year, to extend them through May 31st. Kind of the trade-off is wear masks and we'll extend benefits. It seemed to work both to be pretty good, so I approved that. You know, we're getting to the point where, as Carol said, we don't need to typically hey, we need to make a decision on this yet today, et cetera. So these decisions can be more commission-driven as a body versus an individual. So that's the true intent of this resolution, so.
And it's the intent of my proposal here to rescind MC 20-16 and adopt a new authority. That's my motion.
Any second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, discussion?
I think it makes sense. We can revisit it in May if something dramatically changes, but I think we're all praying that nothing dramatically changes, so.
Yep. All righty, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Liaison reports. No liaison reports, okay. I guess the only thing I would say is I did take about 45 minutes, met with the mayor yesterday to go over some of the, items that we've been discussing as a commission, so I took the liberty of just going and sitting down with them for a while and visiting. No huge revelations, but it's just nice to have that open communication, so. Moving on to new business. Any new business?
Mr. Chairman, two things. One is Mike Huther never met with the chair of the county commission, and the current mayor is doing that, and I certainly appreciate it. The other thing I wanted to say is, with Senator Colbeck being here today, I really appreciated him coming, and the fact that, he had this laundry list of items that they worked on. I think all of us have our own favorites, whether it's the river or the statues or the fairgrounds or whatever, and it was just great to have him come, and I certainly do appreciate it whenever a legislator chooses to attend our meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner. Old business? All righty, so I'm looking for a motion to recess the commission meeting.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed, same sign. How much time do you need to shut down, Tony? 5 minutes? Okay, as soon as he can shut her down, we'll be back.